It seems to me that we've lost our way somewhat, and that there are, I suppose, two ways of looking at life, if you like. We seem to be poles apart, two factions of people. So on the one hand, you've got what seems to be the modern way, the corporate way, in which you have companies, big companies, corporations taking over everything, buying up everything, buying up the small businesses, and employing people who get up, go to work, spend their time giving their energy to these big companies, often in many jobs that people really don't get a lot out of. Some people do, of course, but they spend a huge amount of their life working in order to generate enough money to come home and pay bills, to have a roof over their head and all the associated bills with that, the taxes that the government wishes to take, the ever-increasing utility prices and the food that they eat, which may not actually be as healthy as they want. It may be highly processed because they bought it from supermarkets and things like that. And this sort of treadmill of getting up and going there to this place and coming home, maybe if they're lucky, having a few holidays of a year in which they can see and sit in the sun, nice, interesting places, take their family out as a reward, and so on and so forth. And the majority of people are in that bracket. They're doing this. It's the only thing they know. It's been placed upon them. And then on the other side is, I suppose, those people who've looked at those people and thought, blimey, you're mad, aren't you? You're raving mad, spending all your life, giving it all away. And they've kind of come off, as it were, off grid. They're living on the land, they're on their own, they're isolated from everybody else. And maybe these are families, you know, a couple and perhaps some children, and they've got maybe a couple of cows or pigs or chickens, bees, whatever it might be. And they're working ever so hard, all hours. As soon as the sun's up, they're out there, they're feeding the animals, they're looking after them, they're checking that they're not ill, they're growing things, they're planting seeds, they're watering, they're harvesting, they're making manure. They're doing everything they can to subsist and survive. They're not making a huge amount of money, but they are outdoors, they're enjoying the fresh air, and occasionally perhaps they can make a cup of tea and they realize there's nobody above them, no line manager, no policies, no targets to reach. And whilst they can do that, they're tied to the house, they're tied to the land, they've got to continually, again, a bit of a treadmill, if you like, in order to survive. And whilst they think that these people over here in the corporate world, in the business world are mad, those people in the corporate world are also looking at them and thinking, yeah, it's nice that you can do all of that, but you're tied to the house and you can't relax, you can't just sit down in front of the television and take it easy. There's constantly things to do where you're doing. And maybe it is quite nice, but perhaps they don't really realize how much work is going on in that area. But it strikes me that there's this middle ground that we've sort of ignored, that we've missed out on. A middle ground in which it takes, in many ways, the best elements of both those extremities, in which, in each of these two extremities, people are working to get something, whether it be the money so that they can buy time to go on holiday and all the trinkets and televisions and technology and fast cars, and these who don't want any of that but just want to be able to sit in the sunshine occasionally and breathe fresh air and have healthy lifestyle, good quality food. And yet each of them perhaps are tired and knackered from it all. And maybe each of them are not thriving quite so much in these extremities. But what is it in the middle? What is it that we seem to have lacked? And that seems to me to be, it seems to be like the village. the village in which people are not necessarily working for money so that they can buy things and go on holiday and have the trinkets, but they're not necessarily just working constantly on their own, unable to go anywhere and have the restrictions that perhaps being off-grid and the constant struggle to make ends meet means. Where actually what they're doing is they're working and thriving for one another. They're helping one another. So that everybody in this village, if you like, let's say, I don't know, say there's 100 people just for the sake of argument, and maybe less, there may be a slightly more. And each of these people in this village have realized that they've all got individual talents. They've all got skills. They've all got something to contribute to the village. Some may be better at growing things than others. Some are interested in rearing animals and looking after them. Some may be just able to entertain, maybe to write, to inspire, to sing, to play an instrument. Perhaps some of them are good with distribution. Perhaps some of them are good at serving customers, say in a village pub. And so that each of these people are not necessarily working for money and wish to disappear somewhere else or to be isolated from everywhere else, but they're there to help one another. So that if they're all doing their respective things, which are all contributing to the overall rewards, if you like, of the village, that at the end of their tasks, whether someone is perhaps baking, another one is a butcher, perhaps there's somebody who's good with metalwork, a carpenter, somebody who is looking after the animals, and somebody who's grooming horses, for example, whatever it might be, but they are doing the things that really interest them and that they can contribute to everybody else, there to help. So that if someone says, look, I'm trying to fix the roof on my house, I wonder if somebody would come and help me pass up a few tiles whilst I bang them in. There would be people going, yeah, no, sure, we're here to help. We're here to help one another and have fun. We know you, we trust you, we like you, we're friends with you. And perhaps they meet up in the evenings and go to the pub, where somebody has been brewing the beer, and someone says, look, you've been brewing the beer, we'll cook you a meal. And people perhaps will sing songs together. They'll tell stories together. They won't sit in front of a screen on their own, in front of with nobody else, and let somebody on the screen have these interesting lives. They're actually doing it. That they are not pressured, again, by line managers and policies, but that they can stop and help one another. And when somebody's got a bit of time and says, oh, look, it's harvest, and perhaps those that are trying to get in the potatoes or whatever the crop may be, others say, look, we're all part of this. We'll come and help you, of course, because it's fun. We can make it fun. Halfway through the day, we'll have a bit of a party. We'll come out with some beer and some drinks and have a laugh, and then we'll work on into the evening, a bit like they used to do in the old days. But of course, in the very old days, you know, we've seen how there used to be feudalism. There was the lords of the manor, and he would be expecting people to work for him. They did get maybe a cottage and a little bit of land, but there was authority and there was meanness, and there were some people who were better off than others, and some people who were slaves, and others who were freemen, and others who were serving as knights for the king, and all of this. And so we learnt that structure works in a very authoritarian way, and we kind of see that with the corporate world. But the people who are separated, they're completely on their own in their little homesteads and trying to grow things on their little farms, but they're struggling. But the village, imagine this village where everybody it's cohesive. They all want to work and help one another. And when people are unable to look after the horses or the cows or the sheep or the pigs or the chickens or the bees, there are plenty of others who are doing it. And the children of this village are learning all these different crafts and skills, professions, if you like. and they're learning how they can help and be part of this community, this group. And so they're not really working for money in the same way that we are all having this money, which is a debt-based currency that is there to enslave us further, to work harder, to get a better job so that we can do certain things. But actually they're working for one another, that the food, if you like, is the currency, because everybody needs to eat. It's almost as if money was not required, because everyone would be playing a part in this village, whether they were highly skilled or not so skilled. It wouldn't matter, because people can help one another and everybody would be valued. It's as if we've missed out what living really means. Having trinkets and expensive cars and latest technology and showing off to our neighbours, to me, doesn't seem really what life is about. And struggling on your own with nobody around and desperately trying to put a fence up when it's pouring with rain, or you're struggling to get the sheep back in because they've escaped and you're just there, that again doesn't seem like the best way of living. But in this village in which there are enough people, but not too many, who share the same values and the same thoughts, and that you have traditions and customs and things that you do and conversations that you can have with one another, and when someone's in trouble, you rush out to help them. We seem to have lost that in this modern day world in which people have rushed to the cities or rushed to the large towns, and they have their very important jobs, but not really enjoying it, or not really being with one another, and not laughing enough, and not drinking or singing or enjoying themselves. And it seems to me this is why we are lost, and that it wouldn't take much with a bit of concerted thought. And I think people are beginning to come round to this, in the idea of these initiatives and these communities and these societies that are growing, these assemblies of people, saying that what we really need to do is to be working for one another, not working for a government, not working for dead entity corporations, not giving away our energy to other people who are making profits, and elites flying off in their expensive jets, but actually understanding what life is really about, and that is being part of a small community, a village, let's say, where we're thriving together and helping one another, so that no task is too big, and that we always have someone to call on, and we always have someone to laugh with and enjoy life, and have a beer or a glass of wine, or look at the sunset, or get up early in the morning and have a grumble about something. It seems to me that we've lost that essence of what life is, and we've skipped out this village, this wonderful, cohesive way of living. We seem to have lost that. But I think that is possible, and I think that we can recreate that if we really put our minds to it.